In today's fast-evolving threat landscape, organizations are held back. CIOs and CISOs face relentless pressure to monitor everything, anticipate every risk, protect every piece of data, all while relying on security approaches that just don't stand up to today's complex threat environment. The result is that businesses go down, and resources are spending time reacting in the moment versus thinking ahead and driving growth. What they need now isn't one more dashboard or one more bandage to a broken system. Now, what they need is something more profound. A primal sense of security. The reassurance that they can always bounce back without delay when the inevitable happens. What they need is data resilience. Knowing that they are always ready, always protected, always evolving. So they can be always planning, always leading, always transforming. Because at Veeam, we believe data resilience shouldn't just protect you from the threats of today, but also those of tomorrow. And security shouldn't just keep you from failing. It should empower you to grow. Unwavering protection, unparalleled recovery, unlimited potential. Welcome to VeeamON 2025. The future of data resilience starts now.
Please give a warm welcome to Veeam's Chief Executive Officer, Anand Eswaran.
Good morning, San Diego. Are you ready for VeeamON? I love the energy. I love the energy. You know, I'm so proud to be here. I'm so happy to be in San Diego because not just it's warm and it's nice and we came from gray in Seattle, but this is the home of Veeam's largest customer, the US Navy. Veeam powers every single US Navy warship across the world, and we are very proud to be a partner of the US Navy. So we are very excited to be here. This is also Veeam's 11th VeeamON, live VeeamONs, if you take out the COVID time VeeamONs. This is our 11th live VeeamON. And you know what? VeeamON and everything Veeam has done since we started has always been all about our community, all about you. And passionate, and that's the word which sticks to me, because as I was running the numbers, I saw that 17% of the people here this week have been here for more than 5 VeeamONs. I mean, that's a large number. And 17 of you, funnily, the same number, 17 of you have been here at every single one of the 11 VeeamONs. I mean, that's a passionate crew who's staying with us right through. So, and you know, for me, this isn't just another conference. You know, for me, this is where cyber resilience takes center stage. So for the next 2 weeks, treat the Marriott Marquis as your command center. Connect, learn, and hopefully you're going to leave better equipped and more confident. So here's a couple of things to make these 2 days productive and fun. Hit the expo hall if you haven't already done it. It's where tech meets reality, so we have live demos, real answers, and as Veeam always does, zero fluff. Experience the hands-on labs. I already saw a ton of LinkedIn posts on people having fun with the hands-on labs. Please go do that. Attend breakouts. We have super sessions with Veeam experts, which will be a lot of fun. Again, no theory here. It's just hands-on resilience, where we help with real-time defense from real-world threats. Always a highlight at VeeamON, the most anticipated sort of sessions is Lab Wars is back. If you think you're good, prove it. If you have not yet participated in Lab Wars, you've got to go try it. Take data centers head on and win. And have fun when you actually go do that. This week's agenda, maps, updates, polls, it's all in the app. As of this morning, approximately 80% of you have downloaded the app, so the other 20%, please go do that. It'll be a lot more productive couple of days for you with the app in hand. A shout out to our 5,000 virtual attendees who are listening. So you're not here in person, but you're in it with us. So hit the chat, ask questions, we are listening. I also want to take a moment to offer my sincere thanks to our sponsors, because your support makes VeeamON possible. Thank you very much for that. And special thanks to our diamond sponsors, AWS, Exagrid, and Microsoft. They are truly trusted allies in what we are building together and what's next. Thank you, AWS. Thank you, Exagrid. Thank you, Microsoft. Now, it's been a year since we last were together, and it has been an incredible year. 2024 was the most successful year in Veeam's history. And as of Q1 this year, just a few days back, end of March, we have crossed $1.7 billion in ARR. Powered by 34,000 plus partners, Veeam serves more than 550,000 customers in more than 150 countries. That's truly global. We are not just participating in this space, we are leading it. We are the #1 in data resilience globally. We are the #1 in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for execution. We are the #1 in Forrester's Wave for vision and strategy. We are the #1 in Microsoft 365. We protect over 23.5 million users. That's more than a third of the total users who are actually protected. We are the clear #1 in Kubernetes. So for me, I'm humbled because this isn't just growth, it's momentum, and none of that happens without you, our community, our customers, our partners. Community first is not just a tagline for us here. To our customers and partners and influencers and vanguards and legends, you are the reason we lead as Veeam. You help us scale, you help us innovate, and you help us win. Veeam moves forward because we are together. So on behalf of all Veeamers here and in every corner of the world, to every single one of you, thank you, because your trust powers Veeam. A sincere thank you. So here's my ask for this week. Lean in, connect deep, explore what's next on Veeam's innovation, and walk out of here knowing that Veeam isn't just ready for the future, we are building it. So now, let's get into our day one keynote. You know, from the first carved tablets to the latest AI models, information has always been power. And the fastest way to steal that power is steal the data, or copy it, or control it. And that's why protecting information isn't new. It actually started from ancient times. 4,000 years ago, the Egyptians encrypted and hid messages in hieroglyphs inside the tomb of Numhotep II. Now, this was the first known example we have of hiding information in plain sight. 1,000 years later, the Spartans used the scytale. What is the scytale? Battleships were written in a piece of paper, a parchment, and wrapped around a cylinder. Only someone with the same size cylinder could actually decode it. It was simple, it was genius, and for its time, it was unbreakable. Now, resilience didn't begin with tech. It began with survival. For the next few centuries, the next evolution in protecting data just came through ciphers. From Caesar's cipher, where secrecy relied on just shifting alphabets, letters, to the Vigenère, fast-forwarding to the 1500s, it was key-based encryption which made protection very personal. To Playfair, which doubled the complexity by encrypting pairs of alphabets. Now, each one made data harder to read and easier to trust. But remember, we are still talking about protection as single-dimensional, It was just encryption at that point in time. Then came the machines. In 1917, the Roeder machines fused typewriters with electric circuits. They scrambled messages automatically, cycling through thousands of permutations. And suddenly, the ability to decrypt as humans, just individuals, using your eye, had absolutely no chance. The Enigma took it even further. World War II, the stakes were really high. It was so complex that the Allies actually invented modern computing as we know it just to break it. That was the turning point for encryption and protecting data. And then the digital age exploded. Information scaled really fast. We didn't just encrypt anymore, we stored, we networked, we connected everything. Data stopped just being physical, it became ubiquitous everywhere. And with data powering the world, what was just encryption evolved to multi-dimensional resilience as we know it today. And guess what? The threats evolved too. What started as worms and annoying email viruses became ransomware, and then transformed to ransomware as a service. And now, anyone can attack from just a keyboard. We are facing state-sponsored attacks, supply chain breaches, attackers with budgets, talent, and zero conscience. Cybercrime, my friends, is a business, and that business is booming. And if you think that's the end, AI is changing the game again. Deepfakes, autonomous malware, and soon we're going to see quantum-powered attacks that will crack today's data security in seconds. So where does that leave us right now? It leaves us right here at the edge of the next era in cyber resilience. And today, we are going to talk about the annual ransomware trends and proactive strategies report. We're actually releasing it, launching it tomorrow, but today, you're going to get an exclusive look. Because we have combined global threat intel with insights from thousands of real-world incidents across every industry, across every geography. It's not a report, it's a playbook for what is really happening and how do you stay ahead of it. Let me start here. Law enforcement is really stepping up, but threat actors are adapting faster than ever. 69% of organizations suffered at least one ransomware attack last year. And the real target was not just your production systems, they're going after your last line of defense. 89% of these attackers went after backups. And in over a third of the cases, they were modified or deleted. Think about that. They're not just encrypting your data, they're cutting the safety net you are counting on to recover. Now here's another myth. We'll just pay the ransom. Turns out 69% of the companies that paid the ransom, that's a big number, got hit again. Usually by the same exact group. Because paying isn't protection, it's a business model for them. You can't buy your way out of ransomware, you can only build your way out with real resilience. And attackers are getting smarter, faster. Data exfiltration is up. Dwell time is now under 24 hours. AI is leveling the playing field for these bad guys. Small crews, few people, move like what historically nation states used to do. And they are not just targeting the Fortune 500 anymore, they're coming for everyone, every company of every size. So with Coveware by Veeam, one of the things we have done over the last year is built the only incident response service in our category for that exact reason. We now have the largest commercial threat intel database, giving us early warning, fast detection, and faster response. Veeam offers the only end-to-end ransomware protection in our industry, which helps our customers before, during, and after an attack, powered by innovations, which we will talk about today, like IOC, Indicators of Control, or Recon. So when disaster strikes, no one sees more than Coveware by Veeam. Bill Siegel, who leads Coveware by Veeam, and his team are on the front lines every day in real time. They don't just watch the breaches, they actually jump in and stop the bleeding. So please join me in welcoming Bill Siegel, the leader of Coveware by Veeam, to really go into the details and share what's happening out there. Bill, come on up, please. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
So you guys are in the middle of it every day. And some of the conversations we have, I just have to take a moment. Probably the first question to warm us up, Bill, which is, what are the patterns which no one sees until it is too late? What's the most common blind spot for every company who gets in trouble? How do they, what can you tell them about it?
Sure, Anand. I think one of the most common blind spots, and it's not the most obvious thing, is just becoming complacent. I call this the tigers in the lobby syndrome. And I love metaphors, so here goes. Imagine you're in charge of securing this hotel and making sure that these ferocious tigers that live around here don't get into the lobby and eat a customer, because obviously that'd be terrible for business. And you set up your systems, your security, your redundancy, and you're doing a spectacular job. Years go by, no tiger attacks in the lobby. The management of the hotel's like, why are we paying money to guard against these tiger attacks? We haven't had them in years. Let's just cut the budget and get out of it, right? That is very much the situation that a lot of folks in the audience are in. When you do a great job and you're using Veeam products and using great security products, business continuity reigns. But if you become complacent and you stop using these products and you think these aren't risks, you can become impacted. These are high severity, low frequency events, which are very hard to manage through when you don't have them regularly. So complacency is really one of the biggest risks I see.
Well, that totally makes sense. And knowing Bill, there must have been a tiger attack somewhere because he doesn't speak in platitudes. So what are the attackers doing today, Bill, which they were not doing 12 months back? How has it evolved?
Yeah, so the threat actors are getting really good at using almost entirely commonly used applications, meaning they're using Teams, they're using TeamViewer, they're using common Windows administrator functions. They're not using any malware often until the very end of the attack. And sometimes in data exfiltration attacks, they're not even using any malware at all. So when you think about your common security, your antivirus and things that's screening for all these signatures and everything, it's not going to work because there will be no malware used across the entire kill chain to carry out an impactful attack. And so you have to have a lot of redundancy. You have to have behavioral characteristic scanning to look for these things, these anomalies, for how these threat actors are using tools that we all use every single day inside of our environment. But when an actor gets in, they're going to use them maliciously.
So you've been in the middle of many of these, hundreds of these. What is it that separates the companies that actually succeed, recover, do this well, versus companies who don't?
Yeah, it's culture, and this will sound sort of vague, but going back to Anand's first question, the companies that recognize that this is a risk, and the only way to defend against that risk is to persistently invest in it, those are the companies that survive. When you persistently invest in it, you end up with a culture of security. You're investing in your people and security awareness training. You're investing in attracting and retaining the best staff. You're invested in using the best tools, software and hardware, and never letting that investment up, even in the absence of impactful attacks. And that is a cultural thing inside an organization. It's not one characteristic, it's not one tool, it's not one person. It's a culture that spans the entire organization. Arguably one of the hardest things to do, because now no one person, except for the chief executive, can actually control culture.
Well said, Bill. Sometimes its culture is seen as soft, but actually it's pretty cool core to how this is done. Now, AI has become a big deal. It's sort of democratized and lowered the barriers of entry, right, for the bad actors. How are you seeing AI being deployed in these attacks? How has it evolved?
Well, it's not in the ways that a lot of the marketing, the security product marketing likes to tell you and scare you about. It's in very tactful ways. So we think about common vulnerabilities in common software that we use. Historically, you've seen threat actors specialize in specific types of hardware and software that are very commonly used, and when a new CVE comes out, that specific actor who is trained on that software is going to scramble to figure out and build an exploit. And that takes time. It's literally a coder sitting at a computer trying to figure out, how do I exploit this new vulnerability? How do I mass scan every computer on the internet to find out who's unpatched? And how do I take advantage of it? Now, so you think of that job, a person sitting at a computer coding up an exploit. Now they have AI, and they can code way faster. So that is literally a race between who can patch faster and can the bad guy code their exploit faster to see who is going to get impacted and who is not going to get impacted.
You know, the other thing is AI can also be used for better defense, for getting prepared better. How do the best companies use AI to get to a better secure posture?
Yeah, so that's really going to be on the behavioral side, right? Picking up anomalous behavior. You know, why is Anand up at 3 a.m. creating new administrative accounts? That's strange behavior for Anand. He doesn't typically do that, right? The behavioral characteristics, as we talked about in the second question, are getting more and more similar to normal behavior that IT administrators and regular rank and file employees do. So picking up on these very slight anomalies in how they're actually behaving can be so subtle that a single person really can't do it on their own. But with the benefit of AI that's built into a lot of these products, you can pick up on these micro anomalies that fall a half a standard deviation outside of normal and say, maybe we should go investigate that.
Oh, that is pretty cool. Now, the geek in me always would love to know this, which is, what is the most commonly encountered strain of ransomware you see these days?
Honestly, the threat actors move around so frequently, the brands don't even really matter. And one of the things that we have seen over the past year is the actors themselves, there is no loyalty whatsoever. So this is very hard to communicate because, again, security product marketing loves to say, new ransomware strain doing this ransomware strain doing that. To us inside the space, it is the same people that have just decided to drive a blue car to work instead of a red car to work. It is not that there is a new group, it is not that there are new people out there doing this. These are career cyber criminals that have just decided to rebrand. So the actual variants, while they have their slight characteristically differences, we know that the underlying people behind them are more or less the same.
Which is cool. And you know, what I'm excited about, Bill, is you have an incredibly large real-time database of all these new threat patterns and how they're changing. And now you productize that threat intel and we surface it via the Veeam Data Platform Premium Edition. So that is amazing, because now people have access to the threat you see every day on a real-time basis, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most important things that we're developing, and one of the most important things that I'm excited about was, 2 years ago, we had built software inside of Coveware when we were this teeny little independent company, and we were rolling in all this intelligence that we're picking up from all the attacks. But we were teeny. We did not have a big reach to actually productize this and roll it out to a broad spectrum of customers. Now we have taken Recon Scanner, we're making it generally available to VDP clients. This is really important for us because what's always been important to us is protecting the backbone of economies, right? Which are what? Small, medium-sized businesses. These are businesses that can't afford the most premium tier of EDR, right? Not everybody has the budget for all of these fancy things. But with our software, we can detect a lot of the things that these more expensive products are going to find, and we can do it very scalable. We've had some success recently with 12, 15-point endpoint customers that are using this software. They can't afford an EDR. They can't even afford the most the highest tier of AV, and we've been able to detect pre-ransomware activity that absolutely would have resulted in either an encryption attack or a data exfiltration attack on an organization early. We've alerted them to this. They've been able to patch and remediate to prevent an actual impactful incident. So I'm so excited about rolling this out more broadly because of the impact that it can have.
No, that's amazing. Recon. If you don't already use it, ask your Veeam team about it. You had 60 seconds, but now you have 36 seconds. If you had 36 seconds to sit across with every technical leader in this room, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say, what is your communication plan going to be for how you are going to preserve and grow your own budget in the next 24 months? I'll tell you another quick story. I was doing a tabletop a couple weeks back with the CIO, CISO, and then the chief financial officer, chief executive officer of a pretty big company. And the topic of recovery time objectives and actual restores came up. And this tabletop was not about that, but they went into this tangent, and all of a sudden they realized there was a huge disconnect between the actual recovery time objectives that the executives thought could be achieved and what the CISO and the CIO actually told them was possible. And it led to a 45-minute discussion of like, how could this gap, we have to address this, we need to invest in this, you obviously need different tools, I can't believe you've allowed this to persist. And then they kind of came back to me and they're like, Bill, we're so sorry, we just went totally off tangent. And I was like welling up with tears in my eyes, and I was like, guys, you don't understand, this was the most important conversation that you could have had right now to get on the same page and not have to have this conversation in the middle of a ransomware attack. So that's the most important thing, is arming chief information security officers and CIOs with a good communication plan to make sure that you have the budget and support that you need to adequately protect and defend your organization's data.
Wonderful. Bill, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Veeam's goal for the last 18 years has been very simple. Whether it's ransomware, outages, hardware failures, or natural disasters, we help you bounce back fast, secure, and confident. But just as importantly, we help you use the data as well to power insight, to fuel AI, and to accelerate your business forward. And this isn't just about technology. Technology is important, but this is also about trust. Thousands of organizations trust Veeam to protect their most valuable asset. It fuels your business, your data. We don't take it lightly, and we will never stop earning that trust. And that's where data resilience comes in. Because it's not just about surviving disruption, it's about continuing to operate securely and confidently through that whole process. So last year at VeeamON, if you remember, we introduced the 5 pillars of data resilience, because resilience isn't just a checkbox feature, it's a framework built across 5 dimensions. Together, they serve as the foundations of data resilience. Now, 2024 was also our biggest innovation year for us at Veeam, period. More features, more launches, more impact. And I want to but before we go to each of these, I want to do a quick walkthrough of our innovations over the last 12 months in the context of data resilience. Obviously, data resilience starts with backup, clean, reliable copies of your data. It's just a starting point across every environment: cloud, physical, virtual, SaaS, containers. And because Veeam backups are infrastructure independent, unlike almost every other company out there, even if something breaks, you can still recover from it and to anywhere. And you can do it pretty quick. Veeam already supported more workloads than anyone else. Now, from KVM to Proxmox, we've added what you run today and where you are moving to next. Wherever your data goes, Veeam's already there. Next up, recovery. Now, this is where resilience gets real. Our instant recovery is up to 5 times faster than the others. And we've built in clean room recovery so that when your data comes back, your ransomware doesn't. With Veeam, your cost to recover is the best in the industry, full stop. But don't take our word for it. Simulate it, test it, or you will risk paying for it later. And that's why in recovery, we expanded support to Hyper-V orchestrated recovery and Azure cloud recovery. More platforms, more control. And yes, there is absolutely more to come. Then there's portability, because lock-in is the enemy of resilience. You should be able to move your data to and from anywhere without friction, from VMware to Hyper-V, or to and from Scale to Nutanix, or from on-prem to cloud. Wherever you need it, Veeam moves it with full flexibility and zero drama. That's why, with every new workload we add, you get cross-cloud, cross-hypervisor, and hybrid portability just baked in. So wherever you go, Veeam moves with you. Now, security isn't a bolt-on, it's baked in. Immutable backups, end-to-end encryption, proactive threat hunting. And these aren't just, again, checkbox features. They are battle-tested and hardened. And many of these were the first in the industry. And this year, we took it further with new innovations. And now, Coveware, as you heard from Bill, Veeam delivers the most complete ransomware protection in the industry. From Threat Hunter to Indicators of Compromise, ICO, to IOC, to Recon, which Bill just talked about. Ransomware indicators built right into the platform. We've got you covered before, during, and after the attack. And finally, intelligence. We are using AI to make your resilience smarter. AI copilots, predictive diagnostics, autonomous recovery workflows. Your systems are learning, adapting, and responding before humans ever get involved. That is next-level resilience, and it's already here. Capabilities like Veeam Intelligence will change how you think about recovery, response, and readiness. Later this morning, we'll unveil what's ahead on our AI roadmap. I'm really excited about that. But here's the meta point. 2024 has been our most intense innovation year, and we are not slowing down. Every innovation you've seen will surface across every Veeam platform because customer choice is our first principle. You want to self-manage? Use the Veeam Data Platform. You prefer SaaS directly from Veeam? There's Veeam Data Cloud. You want it delivered by one of our trusted providers, someone you work with already? Go with our VCSPs and MSPs. One platform, 3 ways to consume, everything powered by Veeam Intelligence. We meet our customers where they are, and actually, more importantly, where you want to go. And so you've seen, it's been a pretty busy 12 months. Veeam protects over 160 workloads, 162 to be precise, before this keynote. While the last 12 months have been extremely busy, we are going to raise the bar even more in the next 12 months. So let's get into it. All things product you should expect to see in the next 12 months. 45 minutes, products, no fluff, just what's coming next. And so to help me do that, please welcome the 2 visionaries leading the charge for Veeam, our CTO, Neeraj Tolia, and our Chief Product Officer, Anton Gostep. Welcome, Anton. Welcome, Neeraj. Let's go on. All right. Hey, so I'm going to ask you both one question before I yield the floor. One word for 2025. What excites you the most?
It's easy. I'm going to finish my presentation with the word, it's opportunity. I'll explain. Yeah.
All right, I like that. Neeraj, same question for you. One word which excites you the most for 2025.
So I'm going to actually play on the question. My one word is actually excitement, right? I'm not excited about the growth of the company, but all the things we're going to be shipping.
It should be.
But it is about the external stuff that excites me the most. The technology we'll be getting out to you and that you're going to be hearing all about over the next 30 minutes or so.
Awesome. So Anton, you're going to take it away, right?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Really excited about this presentation. Never been so excited to share what's coming next. I wanted to start with this slide. It's just hard to believe. Hard to believe. Version 1, it feels like it was yesterday. Luckily, I have another measure of time. You know, time contracts when it passes, but when version 1 was shipped, something else happened almost the same time. My son was born. He's now in the audience. He's 17 years old, guys. That's Veeam. And regarding the workloads, yeah, we keep adding to this list. I can promise you, for example, in the next 12 months, 2 to 3 new hypervisors will be added to that and many more workloads, but don't have time to talk. I have only 15 minutes, so I want to talk only about one thing, and that is version 14. What's coming next? And the presentation will be loaded with screenshots. Pay attention, don't blink. You're gonna miss a feature, right? First up, the new UI, web-based. Do you wanna see it? Want to see how it looks? This is new web-based UI. And this is a dark theme will also be available. Pretty cool, right? So our goal when we were building it is to make it as close as possible to the familiar experience of Veeam users. So if you ever used Veeam, you feel like fish in the water, right? You find all the things in all the same places. For example, this wizard everybody knows, VM Backup Job Wizard, right? All the same steps, all the same views. Object picker is larger because we have more screen to use, but again, the goal was 0 learning curve, right? So that's new web UI, just a quick preview. We're going to demo it all tomorrow. We're also doing a thick client backup console UI refresh, and you may ask why we're doing this. You know, web UI is cooler. It will take us a few release vehicles to fully transport all the functionality there, right? So we're doing this, we're taking the same path just like VMware did in the past, right? Over the few releases, we're going to move from most used to least used functionality, everything to web UI. So for the next couple of years, maybe less, we're going to move fast. The backup console will remain like the fully featured one. So we're doing the refresh. And that's how it looks now. When I presented this at our sales kickoff, somebody said, Anton, I asked you about web UI for so long, but now I'm going to use this. It actually looks better for me, right? And just for comparison, this is how the same screen looks today. I'll let it sink in, I'll go back. It looks much nicer, right? Come on, guys. And we also have dark theme. And it's very dark. And it took us changing a few thousands of icons, right? Our icons weren't prepared for a dark theme. So lots of work goes in this, guys. Next, this is a new lock-on screen. And this was changed not just because of for the sake of design change. We actually need a new lock-on screen to accommodate all the new functionality. For example, when you log on to a backup server, you may encounter this. Guess what? You can now have a backup server as a highly available cluster, all right? And we got to 2 billion without this feature, you know, but some customers still want it, so we're adding that, right? Also, for example, the other new feature is when you log on to backup console, you can use a single sign-on, right? That's why we need a new dialog. So now you can set an identity provider in user's roles. It looks very scary, but if you ever set up single sign-on, it's nothing to worry about. Also, for example, if you go to security, you know, it's all the same built-in roles we always had, but guess what? You can now create custom roles. For example, you can create thank you. You can create a backup or restore operators which are scoped to a particular environment, right? To a particular part of the environment, to particular repositories. Maybe you don't want to use everybody using Veeam Vault, right? And you can scope there also restore privileges. So this kind of stuff, right? And we're going to demo it tomorrow. Some innovations next, right? So for now, just UI stuff and all the smaller features. Instant cloud recovery. Super proud to announce this latest innovation by our incredible R&D. It allows you to restore any Veeam backup as a native Azure VMs in less than 5 minutes. Actually, less than 4 minutes if it's a Linux VM, right? If you ever use cloud, you know, nothing is like hyperscalers, nothing is fast there. You know, when you create VM and provisions, it takes minutes. So to complete the whole provisioning and the recovery and boot up in less than 5 minutes, it's incredible, right? Funny enough, it's no longer a spare tire. We used to think about instant recovery, you know, just get you by until the next service shop to put a proper tie in. Cloud is weird, because when you run regular VMs in the cloud, the hyperscaler does the IOPS throttling, right? So you can't exceed the number of IOPS. So actually, surprisingly enough, you can have now instantly recovered VMs that are faster than production VMs because the object storage access from which we stream the data is not throttled, right? And you can probably see how it provides a solid foundation, not just for disaster recovery use cases, but all these other use cases that's going to come in the future. And this, my friends, is the reason to consider using Veeam Vault right now. And again, We're going to demo this tomorrow live. Next one, universal CDP. We've been polishing our CDP engine for some years now. Already last year, we had a POC with a customer with a few thousand VMs. It was a successful POC. Customer told us that our main competitor for CDP walked away because the environment was too big for them. For us, it was a successful POC. So now that we have such an amazing, incredible engine, we decided let's extend it to more workloads, because now it's vSphere to vSphere. What we're adding in version 13 is the ability to do agent-based CDP. So it's any Windows to Linux machine, no matter the hypervisor, physical, virtual, cloud, you can do CDP. And again, great way to protect your tier 1 workloads with low RPOs and RTOs. We were actually, originally we were designing for another target. We figured out the fastest time to market we can achieve by doing like VMware vSphere and Cloud Director as a target originally, and especially after we previewed this to some of our top service providers late last year, they were really excited about having that as a Cloud Director as a target, right? Because now they can take any workload and do a CDP to their data center, right? Because of that, we will also enable cloud service providers who use Cloud Replication today to just use the existing infrastructure and deliver these new offerings for any machine, any Windows Linux machine. Performance revolution. Almost every release it happens, right? But we put a lot of effort in optimizing performance. When we back up a lot of very small VMs, we have such performance tests, very, very tiny VMs, right? We see up to 100% increase in decrease in backup time, right? So we really shrink down the time we waste between machines, how scheduler operates, and so on. But it's not just that. We also optimize the actual data processing engine. So when we do the same test with proper VMs, we see still 50%, up to 50% performance increase versus version 12, even on the tough workloads like active full, right? There's very little we can optimize there, but still, developers did it. And as I've said, 10x faster cloud recovery instead of 10x cheaper. Some competitors offer that, but they want you to use VMware in the cloud, right? Just to run this minimum cluster for a year, it's already 6-digit. That's why Anand said, evaluate it, see the total cost. With Veeam, you go directly to native Azure VMs. So how's it looking so far, guys? Good? Okay, it's going to be super emotional topic for me. This is the feature I basically dreamed since I joined Veeam, 2008. I joined as a kind of advanced technical writer, and I had to work my way up all the way to chief product officer to actually be able to take the decisions to implement this. It would never have happened without Anand's trust and without the incredible R&D team that delivered it. What I'm about to announce is version 13 software appliance. It's a very succinct description from Wikipedia. I'll just let you read it. Before we have any more questions, again, Veeam is all about option. This is an option. Windows installable software is not going anywhere. This is another way to consume Veeam backup replication. And we're going to deep dive a little bit more in this now. This is why we're doing it. Very simple, right? We heard you. You want the most simple deployments. You want the security since day one and forever. And you want to focus on other things that matter versus maintaining the backup infrastructure. I like to explain the Veeam software appliance in these 3 kind of themes: pre-built, pre-hardened, predictable. What does it mean? Pre-built, simple to deploy. Again, we take the appliance OS, I'm going to refer to it as just enough OS, and Veeam software, we package it together, and we maintain it, everything as a single package for you, right? We deliver it as an installation media, so you can install it on physical, cloud, virtual, anything that supports, booting from ISO. We also deliver virtual appliances for key platforms like VMware. 100% software defined, 100% hardware agnostic, will not prescribe what hardware you're supposed to use. You can use anything as long as it matches minimum system requirements and has minimal disk sizes required. We provide simple web UI for all common host OS management tasks. So while it's Linux-based, This is designed for people who don't know Linux. So you will never expect anyone to go and tweak anything there. You just use this very simple host management web UI. You can see network time, user and roles, console access, it's all there. You can just manage it very simply. Pre-hardened, what does it mean? Well, the base, just enough OS, is pre-configured to use SE Linux and all the other Jesus stick standards. So there's lots of very smart people who know how to secure Linux. We just use the best practices and we implement it ourselves. We significantly reduce the attack surface. We disable by default SSH. We disable integration services. So today, with software appliance, if you want to, for example, add the software appliance to VeeamON or service-provider console, you have to enable temporarily the appliance to accept the incoming connection. And in 30 minutes, if you don't do this, or in 1 hour, it will shut down, right? Stuff like that, right? So by default, secure. Architecture has changed. Vulnerabilities are inevitable. However, when they happen, we don't want hackers to escalate their privileges and get the root of the appliance. So the architecture was changed to help with that. Again, the most important one, I guess, is automatic security updates with centralized management. We, Veeam, completely manage patching and hardening. It's not just software patching. Jesus Stick comes up with new recommendation. We're going to apply it to appliances, so you don't have to do it. Best part is, Veeam provides you flexibility to deploy additional backup infrastructure components like proxies, repositories. If you deploy them from the same just enough OS ISO, this will be the subject to the same centralized patching and hardening, right? So your entire Veeam infrastructure, we take care of it. Is it cool? This is actually update management. Somewhat like Windows. You can postpone updates, you can never completely avoid them. At least security updates have to be installed automatically. Keep that in mind if you're MSP. I'm going to talk more about this slide later. Again, predictable. That's what we keep hearing from enterprise customers and partners, right? Today, if you're a backup admin, you're also a host admin, right? And you can do unpredictable things. You can install new software. You can change the security settings and do some things your security team doesn't necessarily like, exposing your backup server, right? Because you have the backup admin rights. So that true zero trust means no person in the company, in your company, has root privileges to the backup server. Not even backup admins, anyone. Any sensitive host operations, sometimes they are required, right? They must be approved by the dedicated security officer role. I'll show you the screenshot how the console looks. Mandatory MFA, very complex secure passwords according to Jesus Stick. If you use the managed hardened repository, you know they're a pain, right? But that's the whole point. You never want to use them. You never want to log onto your backup console with this host admin, right? You want to create a dedicated user. And for that, again, as I showed, we do have XAML SSO integration for very simple backup console access. And this is actually how security officer's view looks. Can't do anything, can just approve password resets, and other sensitive changes. So, looks too good to be true. That's kind of a vaporware, right? You would think, right? Actually, no, I'm happy to announce all of this is already available in beta today. We always run betas through our pre-sales teams. That's the only way to ensure you have a good experience and we get feedback back, right? So contact your pre-sales, your Veeam sales rep and see if in your region there have some spots left. We just launched it last week, so they should have plenty of spots. My last slide. What this means for you. Version 13 and the timelines. So installable software will be available. We're targeting Q4 this year. Again, it's Windows-based installable software. Software appliance that I just described, we're pulling it ahead 3 months, approximately. So we want to give it in your hands and make sure that you can already start deploying new deployments and evaluating it and so on, right? By pulling it 3 months, before, we avoid having to create upgrades and spend like the months just finalizing things, how you go from version 12 to version 13. So we'll pull it a little bit ahead so you can, again, start using it for new deployments. Beta available now. And finally, beginning of next year, we're going to take the software appliance concept to the next step, even taking even less burden from you with what we call VDP as a service in Veeam Data Cloud. And again, the demos, everything I talked about today, we're going to demo tomorrow. Hopefully it all works. It's going to be live. And the one word I want you to walk away with is opportunity, and I'll explain. It's opportunity. It's the biggest opportunity, guys, for the entire Veeam community that ever existed in the history of Veeam. For our customers, it's an opportunity to reduce total cost of ownership of our platform, focus on what matters, spend less hardening, patching the backup software. For our resellers, it's the opportunity to go after new customers base, the customers who wanted a Linux-based solution. For MSPs, we provide a very simple way now for you to create a tailored, small, large, medium-sized boxes that you deploy at your customer environment, right? And the update UI that I showed, by default, it's only for security updates. You can actually have an option to install security and optional updates, and then you just deploy it. It's a small environment. You just keep it updated. You never touch it again. It's unlikely anything breaks because it's a small environment, right? So it's all about simplifying also your TCO as MSPs. For technology alliance partners, it's an opportunity to go and build all-in-one solutions. The storage box plus Veeam running in the same box, right? I know many of you are already looking for it. I know one of our sponsors today, announcing already such solution. So watch the news. And finally, for our service provider, professional services, we call them VASP, Veeam Accredited Service Partners. It's again the biggest opportunity to ride the waves of upgrades to version 13. Of course, we'll work hard to make them easy. It's not going to be easy button going from Windows-based to Linux infrastructure, right? We're going to make it as easy as possible, but some customers will require assistance. But even more, this is the most compelling event for you to go in and help them re-architect today's backup deployment to use the new features. Like many of our customers don't even deploy and start using the new exciting features, right? So it's just, again, one word, biggest opportunity ever for the entire Veeam community. Thank you very much, and thank you. I hope I get you excited, and with that, I'd like to invite my friend Niraj back to the stage to talk about what we're doing with Veeam Data Cloud.
Thank you so much, Arthur. Please again, let's give it up for him. Folks, we're going to switch tracks a little bit now to talk about software as a service. Super excited to be discussing this with you today. And we're going to discuss this all in the context of what we call VDC, Veeam Data Cloud. If you aren't aware of VDC, right, this is being built on technology Veeam has perfected over the years. But we've re-architected this to offer this as a SaaS platform. So what does that mean for you? It's a modern UI, a modern UX. It's also multi-workload. And we're going to talk about some of that. Right? But when we look at just the shared services that we have on top of this modern experience, it should not come as a surprise to you, but these are the same themes, the same pillars of the data resilience framework we talked about earlier. But it's, I want to spend at least a couple of minutes talking about some of these boxes that you see on screen, because when you look at it in a cloud context versus a self-management context, you're reimagining some of the things that we can do for you. Starting first with backup. Obviously, the very basics, we want to get there, but make it easy to consume. So a lot of work on policy-based automation without losing sight of the fundamentals here, compliance around reporting and auditing, reliability, especially when we protect workloads where the infrastructure might not be stable. So how do we take care of automatically responding to failures? There's a lot of work that we are putting into this body of things. Recovery is where things start getting more interesting, especially as we have more resources available. So to help you recover faster from data loss, we've sped up the restore, up to 5x faster in certain cases. Flexibility is obviously there, choice of targets, whether you want to do granular, whether you want to do partial restores. So we have that, and the ability to search across all your backups when you just want to bring a little bit of data back. All of that comes across for all the workloads. Now, as we start migrating now, portability, you suddenly start seeing a lot more. We heard Anton talk about how you can do cross-cloud restore if you have a backup in Vault, a workload we'll talk about in a little bit. You can bring that up as an Azure VM within minutes. Right? So you have this clean room or DR ability available to you. But some of the more interesting things we'll talk about in a few slides from now is around data reuse. Right? There's obviously, we are now offering sandbox, the ability to bring data to test dev environments, but also how to repurpose this for AI, and a whole section on that, so we'll talk about that too. Then finally, in terms of security, right? We've just done so much work here over the last couple of years, right? I would chew up 20 minutes just discussing everything on the cyber resilience and threat intelligence side. You've heard from Bill today. We'll talk some more about this later. But really, in this multi-workload environment for all of you, we wanted to give you more efficient role-based access control. So when you have multiple workloads, you might have multiple backup admins. How do you scope that down to this admin has that access to this particular workload instance and only these permissions on this, maybe read-only, maybe restore, maybe ability to change backup policies. So RBAC is an essential part that we ship as a part of VDC today. And finally, data intelligence. We made new announcements on this today. And this is not just about AI assistance, but really how can we reuse data in your Veeam backup repositories for new applications? How do we take action based on data, not just metadata, not just policies, as things shift in your environment? And again, I'm going to spend more time talking about that today, but in a few slides. But I want to switch focus now on the protected workload side of things. We'll talk about an overview of some of the workloads that we had available over the last few months, last couple of years, but then some of the new workloads we're also announcing today. All right? So I want to start off with Microsoft Azure, and there we go, right? The icon showed up. But really, when you look at Azure, we back up all your Azure VMs, right? So you're protected on-prem, in the cloud. We back up your PaaS services for you too. There's a lot of customizable policy automation here. You can do bulk restore, granular restores, all those shared services I talked about coming to life here. Your data is always air-gapped. It's always encrypted. Mm-hmm. The next product I want to talk about is the flagship one of Veeam Data Cloud today, which is Microsoft 365. If you're not aware, I believe we are the largest vendor that protects Microsoft 365 today, over 23.5 million seats, and a lot of those are now on VDC or moving to VDC too. So looking at it under the hood, right, a lot of flexibility. We've taken away all the operational pain. But we've also made it easy to consume. You aren't doing capacity planning, cost optimization, unlimited storage, but lightning fast ransomware recovery, bringing data back at multiple terabytes per second if you need to recover from an attack. And obviously, security underpins everything that we do here. And then finally, something we launched in November of last year that has been Veeam's fastest growing product, right? That is Veeam Vault. If you're not familiar with Veeam Vault, it is cloud storage, object storage for your backups, but it is fully managed. So it's always encrypted, always immutable. And it's not just about the technology. What I've loved now hearing from our customers is just how we are saving them from ransomware. Most recently, a US customer adopted Vault, got hit by ransomware, didn't have to pay a single dollar out. Even though attacker got credentials, data in Vault could not be deleted. And therefore, they were able to bring data back and get up and running very quickly. But just like all the other workloads I talked about, and you'll see this as a common theme, predictable cost, right? So flat per terabyte costs, where we are not charging you for your API calls, which adds up very quickly sometimes in these environments, or network egress fees. So you don't worry about how much data you want to bring back. If you need to do a larger store, we've taken care of that. It won't suddenly show up as sticker shock on your cloud bills there, right? So it's fully packaged. We have thousands of customers that are using this, deeply integrated into VDP. You'll start seeing it showing up in other products too, right? So these are the products that we have had available for a while today. Right, what I want to switch focus now into is talking about a couple of the new products that we are going to announce today.
You mind if I
Matthew.
interrupt you?
So, thank you, right. But Matthew, I was going to hand off to him, did not know he was going to sneak up on me, but welcome,
Hey.
Matthew, right.
It's pretty easy
Yeah.
to sneak about when you're wearing,
Yeah.
hey, what do you think? I'm Matthew Bishop, the CIO of Veeam, and I had to interrupt Niraj because I have a few surprises to announce. But before I get there, what I wanted to do first is ask for your help in welcoming a pretty special guest. Now let me tell you a bit about this guest. He was on vacation, spring break vacation. English people can't say that, it's a very American thing, spring break. With his family here in Southern California. And we asked him to take a break in his vacation and join us at VeeamON. So I really need you to give this guy a very special VeeamON welcome. Stamp, holler, applause, whistle. He is Microsoft's Corporate Vice President of Worldwide ISVs, and he was for 6 years Satya Nadella's Strategic Advisor and Chief of Staff. So please put it together for Jason Grafey from Microsoft. It's great to have you with us, Jason.
Well, thanks. What an entry. My gosh. Thanks. You know, Sir Matthew, I appreciate that. You always leave that off your name. I notice you give me the big welcome, but thanks. It's amazing to be here and just to see everybody, the energy and just the excitement around Veeam. That product lineup is pretty impressive.
Actually, I was thinking, it's about a year since we announced our partnership.
Yeah.
The #1 vendor in the world in data resilience, partnering with a #1 vendor in the world on cloud computing. And actually in that year, the momentum has been quite remarkable. Just thinking it through, we have 23.5 million seats of Microsoft 365 protected together.
Yeah.
And Veeam Vault, which we launched just a few months ago, is the fastest ever growing product in Veeam in history. It's been great momentum, hasn't it? How's it for you?
It's fantastic. You know, Veeam and Microsoft, it's this interesting, more than just a partnership. I really think about it as this fusion. It's this interesting fusion, Matthew, between innovation that Veeam is continuing to advance and the scale that Microsoft provides, right? I mean, for us, it's about how do we help customers scale their business? How do we help you grow and achieve the ambition you have to scale up and scale out? And with Veeam, what you're doing in terms of how do you innovate and protect that data and help them be more resilient and keep businesses running, I mean, it's a great partnership in my mind.
Yeah, and we really appreciate what you've done. Not just from a co-engineering point of view, but a co-sell point of view as well. It's been a privilege to work with you and your team, so thank you.
Well, good, thanks. Likewise.
Now, one of the announcements that I wanted to make as a surprise this morning, as we think about innovation, we are extending Veeam Data Cloud today by announcing support for Microsoft Entra ID within VDC to help customers drive data resilience. So I should pause and say, Niraj, where's Niraj? Thank you to your teams, Niraj. It's a remarkable thing to get it out of the door and announced. I know you'll say a bit more about Entra ID, but it's going to make a difference for all of the customers that we have here today. Jason, what's your thoughts on Entra ID?
Well, you know, for me, having started in IT almost 25 years ago and the product formerly known as Active Directory, you know, in our creative naming days at Microsoft, we tend to really do a lot of wonderful things there. It's nice to see how the product's progressed. I mean, we protect almost more than 600 million identity attacks every day, with 99% of them are among using password attacks. And so when you take the innovation that I talked about with Veeam and couple it with the scale of Microsoft and Entra, it really excites me to think about what we can do for our customers together. And so, you know, in this evolving world of cyber threats and attacks, the more that we can bring innovation to customers to really ensure that they're protecting one of the most important parts of any enterprise, and that is the user access to whether it's the information or the tools. I'm excited about what we're going to do together.
And actually, an announcement we can do together is that we are going to make Entra ID resilience and protection available to all Veeam customers, included by default in VDC Premium SKUs. So if you buy the Premium VDC 365 SKU, Entra ID is included automatically in that suite as you buy it and deploy it and take advantage of it.
That's awesome.
Actually, Jason, I should thank you for one other thing as well. Earlier this year, we were privileged that you made a decision to invest in our equity raise. And we're humbled and we're really appreciative that Microsoft would make that decision. What was behind your thinking when you did that?
Yeah. Oh boy, that's a loaded question. Look, it's as a platform builder, and as a company that focuses on how we help companies scale and build an enterprise cloud, building an enterprise AI cloud is also our future, and the vision that we really want to help people enter this new world of AI and this new, secular trend that we see happening. And so as we focus on building that platform, we need great partnerships like what we have with Veeam, and watching how you're going to innovate on that platform and how you take AI to your customers so that we can, again, protect them together. When I started in IT, data backup was about protecting against hardware failures. And now as we look forward into where we are with protecting against ransomware and making sure, giving resiliency to customers so that they can get back up and running and protect data is a whole new world. And what you're going to do in terms of how AI is going to help that with the historical immutable data that our customers will have, your records on it, and how you can help them really find insights in that data is this incredible future that we see Veeam bringing to life with AI on the data platform. And so, but we're going to go build that AI platform for other software companies and Veeam to develop and build innovative solutions on. And so that's what leads us to wanting to partner more deeply with Veeam. And I'm really excited about it. And so thank you. Thank you and the team for the work you're doing and all the innovation and Niraj and the transformation that you're leading with the Veeam team. And so thank you both. Yeah.
So we joined the Responsible AI program that you run.
Yeah.
We've trained all our developers around responsible AI. And I think we're going to be featuring at Build, your conference.
Yeah. So you're going to be, Veeam will be hosting a session or participating at Build in a couple weeks in Seattle, late May. And it'll be great to have the Veeam team there talking about AI and what you all are doing with it. And so it'll be great for our customers to continue to learn from the Veeam team and how you're building on the platform.
Well, thanks, Jason, for being here. Now, look, I have one last surprise to announce. Now, these kicks, by the way, it's pretty uncomfortable for an English person to be on stage wearing something like this, but they are pretty exclusive. They're pretty special. So they are limited edition, they're custom made, they're hand painted. They are actually the product of our Veeam community. Now, we love our Veeam community. It's a very special group of people, many of you here today. And thousands of people vote on the design of these kicks. They're quite an exclusive club to be part of it, and we reserve giving them to just our most valued guests and partners. And actually, Jason, I'd love to give you this.
Wow,
Now,
thank you.
You're on vacation with your kids, so if you give these to your kids, they probably could canoe in them around La Jolla Harbor.
Oh yeah, you think so? Well, I appreciate it. Hey, thanks. This is pretty special.
Great.
You have definitely upped your game, Matthew. I've known you for a long time, and so I like what you're doing here. Veeam looks good on you. It looks good.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jason. Back to you, Niraj.
All right. Now, I hope no one else is going to sneak up on me. It's a continuous run. I'm not expecting anyone else. Right. So let's get back to Entra. We obviously spoke about that. And when we dig into details, this is really being driven by what you heard Jason talk about. Entra, if you don't know, faces hundreds of millions of attacks on a very regular basis. So what we have here is not just data backup, but it's really data resilience here. How do you do change detection for you within Entra, enhanced forensics? Right? How do we capture and store more audit logs if you need to go back compared to what comes out of the box if you're just using it? How do you do granular restores, bringing data back quickly if you have attacks on users, on groups, on devices stored within Entra? So there is a lot that's available in there, right? As Matthew mentioned, this is critical to your environment. In particular, if you're backing up Microsoft 365, you're uncovered if you're not protecting Entra ID. That's why we're also embedding that in bundles, giving away some of this included in what you might have already paid for, because we truly believe you want this comprehensive resilience there, right? And just to be clear, this is available today. You can go use it. I encourage you to go do so. But we're also announcing one more workload today that is backup for Salesforce. For any of you Salesforce users out there, we know this environment is highly dynamic. So unlike some of the traditional infrastructure workloads, we support high frequency backup if you choose to do so, but granular compare and smart restores, right? So skipping business triggers as an example if you're bringing subsets of data back. Once again, we help you with cost here. So unlimited storage in our product, and we help you archive data of Salesforce if you want to manage cost in that environment. We are helping with data portability here. You can sandbox and seed data from your backups. If you have Salesforce testing environments, we let you mask data. So again, there's just a lot of value here. Salesforce also available today, so please go check it out, right? But as a team, we are not done yet. When I go look at just the workloads available today, right, these are the 5 that I spoke about. But when we go look at it from a broader perspective, we're working on a lot more. The ones I can confidently talk about, right, we are doing Microsoft Planner. We're bringing VDP to VDC. If you choose so, right, you'll get the central management plane with all your other workloads, as well as Kubernetes in there. So in summary, there is just a lot that we talk about from a VDC perspective. We are doing a lot more work, not just on what you see on screen, but underneath the hood on reliability, on high uptime. We have breakout sessions on a lot of these topics. So I highly encourage you to go to them to hear more about what I can cover on stage today. Right? So I'm going to switch tracks a little bit, still talking about VDC, but I want to talk about what we're doing for all our partners in the room, a community I really love. Right? So we launched VDC for VCSP late last year in December, and the uptake has been tremendous. We have hundreds of partners that have brought many thousands of customers to this environment, protecting many tens of thousands of users just in a few months. But we also heard your feedback in terms of what you're looking for, what you want to do. So for that, right, we've made changes for our partners, and our commitment is that starting from next quarter, not just the existing workloads, how do we offer any new workloads available to our partners on day one itself? And so this should be powerful for all our VCSPs in the room. We are re-architecting stuff, so we have Pulse support, but we also have partner-specific capabilities that I'll briefly touch on, and then we'll go into more detail over the course of this event. Okay. Thank you. And so for our partners, what we're, there's multi-tenancy by default. We'll talk about how we're scoping operator access, how we take our backup another level, and then flexible management there. Right, so first of all, VDC, from a partner perspective, multi-tenancy by default. You get the same view customers do. There's no functionality loss, no separate admin portal, but you manage all your customers from a single point of view. Right? Obviously, you want RBAC. You have lots of workloads, lots of customers, so how do you pull that one level up where you can say, right, who is an admin for which tenant, for which particular instance of a workload, and what permissions that you see on there. So we'll have that available for you. And finally, we've also heard from you on just the different ways you work with customers. Sometimes you have shared management, sometimes you have exclusive, where either you are exclusively managing an environment for the customer, where the customer wants to manage it themselves but loves to procure through you. We offer all of that same interface. You can dynamically change these things too. And we'll talk a lot more about that. Right, so there's a lot that we're doing for our partners. Come to the partner keynote, come find me, come find us at the booths in the expo hall, and we'll talk more there. Right. So we're going to switch tracks a little bit. So that's all I have to talk about in terms of software as a service, in terms of VDC, what we've done for our partners. We're going to talk about AI next. Top of mind for a lot of us, we've heard multiple references to it, but I don't want to talk about technology buzzwords today. What I do want to discuss with you is the value that we're already providing, and then what we are actively working on to deliver more for you. Right? And when we go look at Veeam Intelligence in action, we're going to be speaking about our roadmap first, right? The themes that we think about, how we need to advance the state of the art for you. And within that, right, so we're going to start off with 5 themes here. First of all, data resilience operations. Right? Bill touched on some of these things, but based on the data you have, how can Veeam be smarter? So do automatic data discovery, classification, automatic protection if things have changed to remove that operational toil away as the business changes, as workloads change. There's obviously a lot of work on data security, but how attackers are behaving is changing, as you heard from Bill. So how do we respond to that? We'll discuss that. We'll discuss how, as AI applications are taking off, how can we protect that entire pipeline and the ability to give you the chance to give you the ability to pick and choose what you want to protect there. We'll talk about data intelligence, as I alluded to earlier, and then finally how we take away operational toil away from you. So I'm going to spend a minute on each one of these sections, and then we're going to put it all together in a coherent architecture for you. So we're going to start with data intelligence, right, first. So we're not going to go in the order of the previous slides, but start with what I believe is the most important. So today we announced data intelligence powered by Anthropic's Model Context Protocol, or MCP. If you're not familiar with what MCP is, right, think of it just in this particular context, a way for us to offer Veeam context to AI applications. And this is not just metadata, this is not just APIs, but this is the data sitting in your backup repositories. Unlike some of our competitors, we've decided to go with a standard-based method. Right? We love Microsoft, we run on Azure ourselves, but we do not want to tie you down to that. If you prefer a different cloud provider, right, you can bring that. If you prefer a different LLM, you can bring that. And this gives you a choice of plugging and playing there, which obviously benefits all of you as you develop your own applications. And I'll talk about what that's going to mean. But also somewhat selfishly benefits us too, picking MCP, because we can now integrate with what other companies are doing, whether you talk about ServiceNow, Salesforce, et cetera. It's going to allow us to build richer applications for you. And for you, as your AI roadmaps develop, bring your own LLMs. Right? There are ones that we use, but if you want to use Anthropic, you want to use OpenAI, you want to use Microsoft, Google, you'll be able to bring your own LLMs to MCP, right? Or via MCP. So conceptually, this is what it's going to look like. Right? We are going to expose our data repositories via MCP. We're going to build applications. You're going to see demos of this tomorrow. But using the same APIs that we are consuming, you'll be able to go build out your own applications too. So I'm super excited about how we're going to unlock data for your use. Then let's talk a little bit next about infrastructure resilience. As AI applications are taking off, how do we provide end-to-end infrastructure resilience? In this case, again, market has mostly spoken. Kubernetes has become the AI infrastructure of choice. So your application is running there. If you want to go protect it, our Kasten product works out of the box. We protect a lot of your vector databases. If you have RAG pipeline set up, we're already protecting that. And now, as you might have seen at other conferences, what we've done is also extended some of the support for more recent ones. Think Pinecone as an example. We're now also seeing the increased ask to protect pipelines, models, right, things stored in, with a Git-like interface and Hugging Face for compliance, auditing, repeatability reasons. And then finally, obviously, if you also want to protect some of your training data, there are a lot of our partners that we integrate with that are being actively used in this space. So end-to-end, right, there's a lot that we have in place for you for what you want to protect. For training can be expensive if you want to recover from failures there, if you have auditing requirements, compliance requirements. There is, from an end-to-end perspective, we will be able to go cover you. And then finally, data security. As Bill talked about earlier, we obviously have a lot in place for malware and ransomware detection in our products. But as attackers are changing, we are also evolving for that. Bill talked about what we're doing with Recon to detect these indicators of compromise. But we're also pushing the state. How can you do fine-grained ransomware attacks, detection? So if just your finance group is being attacked versus the entire company of a few thousand people, how can we pick up on that? How do we figure out what is usual for your company and for your users and individual users so we can detect anomalous sharing patterns, so we can pick up on increased risk, so we can take more proactive backups if we need to, as you'll see in a couple of slides from now. because the cost for us to do that is very low. The value that we're going to provide you is going to be very high from some of these. So we continue to push state of the art on the security side. We're not just saying we're done here. It's going to be constantly evolving for us. Yeah. And then, the second last topic in this umbrella before I tie it all together, right? Data resilience operations. That is, we often hear from customers that their workloads are changing. Suddenly you might have sensitive data show up somewhere. So based on what your data looks like, how can we create policies, protecting more sensitive data, being intelligent in terms of how we're doing restore, bringing critical data back first based on frequency of use, based on sensitivity, et cetera. How do you do backup sanitization? I touched upon proactive backups. A lot of here that we are saying, as your business evolves, as your workloads evolve, as your users evolve, the use of your systems that you use Veeam to protect, how can we evolve with that without having to do rescans, manual rescans moving forward? And then finally, admin assist, right? You see these features already show up in VDP, VDC, really everything I'm talking about here is cross-platform. But as you'll see in demos tomorrow, we'll see, look, how we're expanding on search, right? How do you do NLP-based search versus query-based search? How do you do more interesting things, such as multi-step recovery, custom reporting for your reporting and auditing needs, custom policy creation, which could be tailored even to a particular user. So once again, there's just so much here that you're going to see. We have sessions. But I'm going to now, right, we covered a lot of ground in the last 6-7 minutes or so. So I'm going to put this together. It's a slightly busy slide on one hand, but it should hopefully be easy to put through how our AI strategy comes together. So we have workload engines at the bottom. We talked about that. Anton talked about some of that. We talked about that in the context of VDC. We're storing the data in a secure manner. We obviously have our own catalogs for that, metadata, et cetera. And then from this is where we gather signals. These signals are brought together into the security features you see, and soon in some of the data resilience operations we just talked about. But more interestingly, we're going to start running RAG pipelines on this data too, that we will start feeding into data intelligence, what we're calling data intelligence powered by MCP. But as I said, it's not just this metadata, it's not just this indexing. Data also flows into this. That will get exposed to multiple applications. Admin assistance is one example of that, right? Veeam-powered apps, as well as applications that you might decide to build or partners might decide to build for you all, right? And you're going to see this full stack in demonstration tomorrow, right? All the way from data captured via workload engines going to data intelligence, as well as then search on top of that. And if you're lucky and the demo gods smile on us, also how you can integrate your own applications into this, right? So off-the-shelf stuff. So I've talked a lot today about different fantastic pieces of AI-powered automation. But ultimately, they still require you as an operator to decide how and when to utilize that. But when this comes together, I believe this is when we're going to unlock the evolution of data protection. So in my mind, the future of data resilience is going to what we are codenaming Veeam Guardian, right? The next step is to have what we call, the technology term is multi-agent, but multi-agent assisted operations, where for our backup administrators, for our users, Veeam Guardian will constantly monitor your environment and pull all those pieces together to not just give you recommendations, but if you allow it to be able to take these building blocks and provide that ultimate data resilience experience, right? So automatic data discovery, protection, data loss remediation, workflow remediation, continuous DR and restore testing. And so from our perspective, you'll see this as incremental development. We're going to stage these building blocks out. We're going to provide value and start pulling this together. But it's a long-term commitment from us, because the value of providing Veeam Guardian is going to be really high. But also, we want to make sure we set up the right guardrails, the right safety features in place, so we cannot get things wrong. So this is something we're going to be working with you to build out. But personally, I'm very excited because Veeam Guardian for all our users is going to give you superhero powers, where it's going to take the operational toil away from you and allow you to deliver much higher business value to the environment we're all working in today, right? So this is all I have to talk about today. Thank you all so much for the time, right? I hope you're all as excited as I am. Thank you. I'm going to welcome Anand back.
Awesome.
Anand back.
You know, stay here, Neeraj. So it's going to be, was that a fun product roadmap to walk through? That's cool. It's going to be a busy 12 months ahead of us. You know, we have at least 34 new products. Yeah, thank you for that slide. And capabilities across VDP and VDC. And you're going to see all of these demoed tomorrow, including everything we talked about, forging new ground in AI. No BS, just use cases. That's what we were very clear about that. Use cases which empower every one of you, every admin, every user to become a superhero. So it's going to be pretty exciting, guys.
It will.
So you excited about the demos tomorrow, Anton, Neeraj?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I hope they work.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely will work. But there are new workloads. You'll see the AI demos. You'll see the new workloads we announced today. Right, that'll all be on screen. It's also available to use as a product.
Awesome. Let's give it up to Anton and Neeraj. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate
everyone.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, and as I said earlier, before I hand it off to Anton, customer choice is a first principle for every innovation we create. You can self-manage it via the Veeam Data Platform. You can use Veeam SaaS via the Veeam Data Cloud, or you can leverage our wonderful ecosystem of VCSPs and MSPs. And as Anton and Neeraj said, every innovation we create, starting Q3, especially in VDC, will come in for the VCSPs on day one. It's super critical. But let's be honest. Resilience doesn't come from technology alone. It's about how you use tech, leverage tech to build strength, speed, and confidence into how you operate your business. So with 550,000 customers globally, Veeam has a front row seat to resilience across every industry and every geography. So what we wanted to do was we set out to codify. We set out to codify the patterns and specific actions that the best companies do. And we didn't do it alone. We partnered with McKinsey, with MIT's George Westerman, who's here, who's going to be in a bunch of the breakout sessions as well, and leaders from Palo Alto, Splunk, and Microsoft. And we asked one question. What do the most resilient companies do? And how can we help every business get there? And here's what we found. Most companies think they're resilient. In fact, 70% of leaders we surveyed thought they were doing really well, confident, in absolute control. But that perception did not match reality. The capability assessments revealed that only 8% had reached best-in-class data resilience status. Let that sink in. Just 8% were truly best-in-class, but 70% thought they were. So why the disconnect? It's not just a mindset, it actually was misaligned investments and expectations. Now let's start with the good news. Most of the companies, 94% of you, are increasing your resilience budgets for 2025. That's progress. But here's the problem. The actual spend is still a fraction of what's needed. And the shortfall shows up pretty fast. Longer outages, slower recoveries, and a missed opportunity to turn your protected data into insight. All this, despite the fact that this is one of the best ROIs in spend right now, because the most resilient companies saw $3 to $10 return for every single dollar invested. Now, the financial impact is massive. When we looked at the downtime costs across the Global 2000, it was $400 billion a year. That's almost $200 million per company. And honestly, the dollars are big, but it's not just the dollars. The real damage is actually the trust, the brand reputation, the lost customers. So what did we do with these insights? From studying and surveying hundreds of these customers and companies, we turned it into something actionable for every company to build their own path to resilience. And that is the data resilience maturity model, or we call it DRMM for short. DRMM is a blueprint. It's a structured path from how do you get to the basics to strategic resilience. It's a roadmap across people, process, and technology. Now, what I'm going to do is walk you through the 4 stages where you go from basic to best in class. Stage 1 is where many start. And let's be honest, it's bare minimum. Backups are manual, workloads are protected inconsistently with scattered point solutions. Your resilience strategy is very unclear. Your recovery plans exist in theory, never simulated, not in practice. Security is reactive. Accountability doesn't exist. This isn't strategic readiness. It's actually you're in survival mode, and it is not sustainable. Now, stage 2 is where intent kicks in. There is now a defined and documented data resilience strategy. Budgets are scoped, owners are mapped, owners are named specifically. Backups follow 3-2-1 with very clear RTO and RPO targets for critical systems. Immutability starts to enter the conversation. Retention policies are starting to take shape, not fully done yet. Security levels up, centralized SIM tools are deployed. Ransomware simulations begin, and this is a shift from reactive to slowly getting to be repeatable. Unfortunately, most of the companies, 3/4, 74% of the companies are stuck in stage 1 and 2. There's still a long way to go, but now the path is clear. Stage 3 is where resilience starts to get operationalized and intelligent. Your resilience strategy isn't now just documented, it's embedded as part of your organization. Every critical system, every business app is protected with a unified resilience plan. Backups evolve from 3-2-1 to 3-2-1-1-0 with automated retention policies. Recovery is completely automated. Portability, super critical, is seamless. Your data now moves and recovers across platforms and environments. On the security side, IT, ops, and security teams are aligned and integrated. This is what Bill Siegel talked about as well. Not as common as you think. SIM and SOAR are tuned. Real-time threat detection directly feeds into your resilience posture. IR playbooks, incident response playbooks, aren't theoretical anymore. They're real, they're battle-tested with cross-functional simulations. Now, this is the moment when resilience stops being a checklist and it actually becomes a core capability. Very critical. And then you get to best in class, 8% of them. These companies set the benchmark for enterprise-grade, future-ready resilience. They anticipate and neutralize the disruptions before they hit. Backup and recoveries are dynamic, fully automated, continuously tested, and powered by techniques like CDP for critical workloads. Recovery is near instant, orchestrated across clouds, across hypervisors, across regions. Infrastructure scales up and down or fails over in minutes, not hours. Security is zero trust by default with continuous authentication, adaptive access control, and threat intel wired into every single layer. You've got real-time ransomware detection now, tied directly to automated and orchestrated IR. Your infrastructure is portable, scalable, always monitored. AI runs through everything, from predicting failure points to anomaly detection, to auto-generating recovery scripts using AI and optimizing those retention policies dynamically based on usage trends. Even reporting is intelligent, delivering live threat dashboards, compliance alerts, and insights across IT and security. Crisis management is cross-functional, it's super critical. It's not the accountability of just one team. Across IT, security, legal, risk, communications, always ready. Training is widespread. At least 70% of the IT staff are response ready. Now this, friends, is radical self-healing resilience at scale. It's proactive, it's intelligent, it's business aligned, and it's built to win. Now, understanding these 4 stages is super critical because that gives you a very clear view, not just of where you are, but where you can go and need to go, because each stage locks way more than just maturity. It unlocks value, it unlocks higher performance, it unlocks faster recovery, lower costs, greater customer trust. And most importantly, its resilience you can actually measure in hours saved, dollars protected, and reputations preserved. Now, McKinsey's research makes it very clear. Best-in-class organizations don't just survive, they operate differently. Compared to those who are in the basic or the intermediate stages, they see 10% higher revenue growth, 30% faster ransomware recovery. That's a big stat. 4 times lesser data loss, 3 times faster RTO. They recover from outages 7 times faster. They cut downtime in half. They slash outage-related costs by 2x. They eliminate manual recovery. They free up resources to actually go innovate. And you cannot underestimate the importance of that because it earns you customer trust. It helps you meet regulatory demands like DORA, CCPA, HIPAA. It helps you accelerate the adoption of AI and multi-cloud. This isn't just resilience anymore. It actually gives you a competitive advantage. And now that we've walked through these stages, I wanted to bring it back to you because I want to understand where is your company at today. I want to hear from you. So if you could take a few moments, just scan the QR code and take a quick poll to tell us what stage do you think your company is at? Where are you at? Is your company basic, reactive and manual? Is your company on the intermediate stage, reliable but not repeatable? Do you think your company is advanced, mature and adaptive? Or do you think your company is best in class, self-optimizing? Where is your maturity? Can we check on the scores and how they're shaping up? Settling down. That's almost what we saw in the hundreds of customers we surveyed. So thank you for first being honest and self-reflective on this. In our surveys, as you saw, only 8% were really best in class. You're being actually even harsher here in the room. But you know what? You've got something most don't. Now with Veeam, you've got a clear roadmap. You've got actually a nice model to measure against. And you've got a partner in Veeam who's done this now at scale. This is our moment collectively to move in the right way. So let me bring it all back together now, if we can flip to the slides from the polls. Data resilience is not something you achieve overnight. But with the right partner, the right roadmap, and the right tools, you can and should accelerate your journey. The data resilience maturity model now gives you that roadmap, and Veeam is here to help you in every step of that way. If you want to assess where your organization really stands across people, process, and technology, reach out to your Veeam team, and we'll walk you through what the DRMM assessment looks like for your company. We'll pinpoint your biggest opportunities, and we'll help you take action fast. Do you want the full report, the ebook, and the full tool set? Scan the QR code right here, and we'll also make sure we actually follow it back up in the post-event comms. Or just drop us a note at drmm@veeam.com. It's a journey for us to build radical resilience together. And while we've been working on this and talking about the future, here's something from Thursday. IDC dropped their latest global market share leaderboard. Do you want to see how it looks? Yep. Let's take a look at that. How cool is that? Woohoo! Now, Veeam is not, just the number one, still the number one in data protection. We've actually pulled further away. Now, this momentum is real, and the market sees it. And I want to be clear to our customers, our partners, our community, all of you here, because this is your win. You bet on us. You pushed us to be better. And to every Veeamer, this is what happens when belief, execution, and our community collide. You should be so proud of what we have built together, and we are not done. Because being number one isn't the point. What we do with it is what really matters. This isn't just a finish line. Resilience isn't just your safety net, it actually is your launch pad. So together with Veeam, let's all collectively take off to a much more resilient future. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the next couple of days, and I look forward to shaking hands, and let's talk Veeam, and let's talk data resilience. Thank you.